Okay. Hi all, this is Dr. J with my special guest Joseph Pally, CEO of zcubes.com. I'm streaming live from Westchester, New York, and Joe is in Katy, Texas. Also his business is located in the Bay Area. Let him talk about zcubes a little bit, but first we're going to get to the markets. Let's see who's with us today. Mark O is with us today. Hey, Mark. Good to see you. Happy Friday. Tough week for biotechnology. It seems like it's been a tough month for biotechnology. I was up 60% in my portfolio after a month and a half of the year. Now I'm up 20%. Lucky to be up 20%. And it's been a really tough sledding. There's been some phenomenal winners in the biotech, but the group as a whole has been a disaster, essentially flat to down. XBI is down considerably. The IBB is more flat. These are the two measures, the two ETFs that track the biotechnology stocks. Joe is more of a technology guy than a biotechnology guy, but that's fine. And who else is with us today? Linda's with us. Hey, Linda. How the quads doing? Well, I guess I'm a little bit late, but not too late. Oh, PM. Oh, I see. That was the error I made. The 12-hour error. But you knew what I meant. People know me well enough. PM, AM, it's all the same. Rego Marco is live from Switzerland. How you doing, Rego Marco? Patrick. Several times about biotech companies with no research scientists. Beware of these CEOs without RD clothes. SEC fired its first warning shot at Sava this week. I think, Patrick, they had to because of the publicity, all the negative publicity about it. They had to look into it, or it would seem totally irresponsible. But I think they're going to come out looking quite clean on this. CUNY has cleared their research scientists that was allegedly fudging the data. I think the data is good. I think the only thing they might be guilty of is, well, let's say some enhancement during the conference that they presented their data at, but nothing out of the ordinary. I think Sava is a very good stock to own at these reduced levels. My opinion. As always, my opinion is strictly my own and does not constitute investment advice. Do your own due diligence. Check with an advisor before acting. That goes for our guests and all of our friends that are on live with us. Scott Marino is here. What's wrong with ATHX is BOFA. Bank of America is what's wrong with Athesis. They downgraded from a buy to a hold, and basically that's a sell. So in effect, it has the effect of that kind of downgrade has the effect of a sell. They lowered their price target to $1.25, and it sent the stock tumbling from support at 114.5, $1.14.5, all the way down to 93 cents last I looked. But Dr. J warned that 90 cents, the multi-year low, was very likely to come into play within the next few months. I was a little off on my timing. So I did warn that 90 cents looks plausible to me because no news till sometime probably into the second quarter of 2022 about the ischemic stroke trial. That's like an eternity for short sellers. It's feasting ground for short sellers. So this announcement by BOFA was the icing on the cake. It would have gotten there anyway. Where is bottom for Athesis? I don't know, Linda. 90 cents might hold. I haven't looked lately to see if it did. But if it doesn't, probably considerably further down, maybe as low as, I hate to say it, but 75 cents, something like that. And at this point, you might as well play penny stock on the over-the-counter. AABB might be a better bet than ATHX. SHIB had a nice 20% swing. Oh, Shiba Inu, yes. Do you know anything about that, Joe? The cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, quite a bit. It's interesting, now people are playing it at the moment, but really fundamentally it has got some very interesting underlying technology on the blockchain side and so forth.
Yes.
But crypto, it's too volatile. I don't know if you know about Nassim Taleb, who is a very famous, I would say, economic philosopher, even though he hates the term economists. He basically looks down on, let's say, Bitcoin, because it's too volatile to be a currency. So
yes.
And people are speculating on it. So, but the blockchain technology is going to be there for a while.
Yes.
I mean, until if quantum computing comes and breaks the breaks the code, basically, then it's going to be a different story.
I think you might see some other coin take over in a big way. It may not be Bitcoin down the road. That's the scary part.
That's true. But at the same time, when currencies are backed by something other than human effort, it is a bit dicey.
Yes.
That's
why there are a lot of coins coming out now that are backed by gold.
Yeah, I've heard of some of them, but the NFT idea seems to be quite interesting because it's based on blockchain.
Yes.
But they're kind of using it for strange things at the moment. But at some point, it could be something to look at. But if you look at,
it's called Shiba Inu. Is that mean anything? Do you know?
I've not heard of that one before.
That one is the highly speculative one, trading for under a penny.
I see.
It seems like all the kids, that have a few dollars, I have $100, they buy Shiba Inu.
I see.
And then they're hoping for the 100 to 1 shot,
I see.
It's already had a big move.
Yeah, but I think crypto is going to get more interesting when governments really get involved in it. Right now, they're only trying to tax it. It's going to be an interesting thing. But I think I look at value of stocks and stuff, value of the ideas that we are working on. For example, biotech is one of the most interesting topics that I can think of. And in fact, my own work fundamentally is rooted in the concept from biotechnology. The omnifunctional software. The idea comes from how each cell in our body is omnifunctional. Each genetic code in our body is omnifunctional. Every cell has the same code, and that makes us work as one piece. And because of which I look at a cell as an omnifunctional concept. So I think biotechnology and things like that are where true value is. Crypto is kind of a game at the moment of a lot of speculation, but I always look at where is the real value, where does it change the world. This is all bookkeeping and accounting and stuff, right? Who has more numbers, but true value comes from things like biotechnology, and it's very volatile, in the sense that until CRISPR came along, we didn't have a real good way of doing biotechnology stuff. And if you look at even the mRNA vaccines, I was listening to the founders of the company, I think the BioNTech or so. They actually were trying to solve the cancer problem, like to have customized solutions for cancer. And they realized they could just invert it and make a vaccine for COVID. And that's the kind of incredible stuff that can happen. And with the whole CRISPR thing, it's going to change everything. Not just human.
So at this point, are you aware that CRISPR is off its highs of it was something like 240 a share at its height, and now it's trading like $84 a share, something like that.
Yeah,
do you think it's bargain hunting time?
In my opinion, CRISPR as a technology has so much of potential. It's probably the most, I would say, the most significant technology for this entire century. So, but individual companies might behave differently. Like, it depends on management and many other things. Right? Every company depends on how the management works, how the accounting works, what kind of systems they have. But as a technology, CRISPR is going to revolutionize every aspect of our life.
Well, there are four major CRISPR plays right now in the biotech area sector. That's CRISPR, symbol CRSP, BEAM, BEAM, Intelia, NTLA, and Editas, EDIT. All are well below their highs. So we can take a look at one of them, the chart of one of them, a little later in the show.
Are there any indices on CRISPR technology? Like biotech technology? Yeah. Are there any kind of, not indices, like baskets that people have defined? Instead of looking at individual stocks, because individual stocks can mean a lot of, it depends on a lot of specifics. But as a technology, it is so powerful. It will change everything we can think about, not just the way we solve diseases.
There's no reason why you can't own a little of all of them.
True, as a basket or something like that. Just like we have, Russell Index and so forth. If there is an index that people have defined, I think that's the one to look at.
Yes. And there's another one that's private that's going to, I think, come public at some point called Prime, and they're highly touted CRISPR play.
Mm-hmm.
So when is your company going to come public? You got any plans?
Oh, yeah, I'm aiming to do that. I think in terms of technology, we have really come together. The convergence of standards, everything has worked to our benefit. And COVID has also helped because people are more computer oriented now, and ours is web technology, so that it gives us a lot of advantage. And over the last 5 years, we solved so many problems that I was not thinking they were even possible to solve. For example, our technology originally was all web based. We realized we could take that same technology to our desktops and the servers and the web servers. So that basically gave us full coverage. So now with Z-Cubes, we can create solutions for IoT and things of that nature. So it covers every device, every platform.
Internet of Things is a very big, broad, a very big, broad area that's very, very interesting, along with AI.
Yeah, and interestingly, when COVID came out, we could actually even do genetic sequencing of COVID virus and stuff like that with Z-Cubes. It was kind of incredible what we could do with it. So I see that over the next 2-3 years, we're going to be going more into investment and that sort of thing, growing the business. So yeah, I do expect to go IPO. I mean, our exit strategy is an IPO, not a merger or something like that.
Okay, so you would not go the route of a SPAC.
That depends. I'm not comfortable with SPACs yet.
Okay.
I see a lot of speculative moves and then people moving out of it and things like that. It's just too uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, it's really nice of you to come on and tell us a little bit about your company so that people can get a hint of the future, because I think your company is on the cutting edge of future technology. You are the future now. That's what I get out of Z-Cube. Well, we'll let you talk more about that in a little while. Just want to go through a few more comments. Manacoin, I joined Metatopic. Jill was new. I don't recognize Jill. Top of the morning to you, Jill. Joe Pally is the CEO of a company called zcubes.com. We're going to show you more about that in a little bit. Professor Spike and Arjun both can't make it today, so Joe graciously decided to come on as a favor to me as my co-host today. And let's be very nice to Joe. It's nice of him to do that. And we can learn a little bit about his company, which is very interesting. All right, I'll chart CRISPR. Wasn't on my agenda, but I will. Any thoughts on ITP and JAGX? No, but I'm going to, for you, Jill, and being that you knew, I will take a look at one of them. Give me one of them, ITP or JAGX to chart. Otherwise, I'll arbitrarily pick one.
ITP.
ITP? Okay, there we go. Mana and Sanda, Patrick's favorite. Big techs. Mammoth Bio is another company in the gene editing area to go public to look for. Yes, Mammoth is going to probably go public as well, along with Prime. So there are more coming. There's 4 big players now with more, probably many more coming. And it's kind of like when immunotherapy was starting to get hot. We'd see one company, Juno, go public, then another, Kite, then another, and another, and another. And some of the early ones got bought up. And really from the early group of immunotherapy companies, only the ones that got bought up turned out to be successful plays in the market for the most part. Most of them now are still struggling to survive. It's a tough business. All right, JAGX, ITP and JAGX, you got them both. Let's get to the share screen. MA says edit and Sava. Shalom. Shalom to you, MA. I'm sorry I didn't see your previous shalom, but shalom and shalom. We'll give you 2 responses. Share screen. Otherwise, we'll be here all day. I'll take a look at the trending tickers for a moment, and then we'll get into a couple of charts, ITP and JAGX, and what a few others. This has been a very big play today, Longeveron. It's actually an anti-aging company. They're looking for the fountain of youth, but in the meanwhile, they're settling for neurodegenerative diseases like AD, Alzheimer's disease, PD. But today's news that sent it catapulting, yesterday's news, that sent it catapulting from $2 to a high of 14 today, had nothing to do with AD or neurodegenerative diseases. It's rare pediatric heart disease that they're tackling that sent it to the moon. Moderna is trending today based on the news about the whole world, opening up the whole world to the booster shot. No age requirements, no other requirements. If you want the booster and you're entitled to it, just go into the nearest drugstore near you and get it. I took mine. I happened to take the Moderna. Pfizer is another one that's up on the day because of this news. Pfizer made an all-time high based on this news. To be honest with you, Pfizer, Amazon, and Apple, rather, are the 3 stocks that are keeping Dr. J in the game altogether. Otherwise, I'd be creamed because I have a large amount in CRISPR and the other CRISPR stocks. So while I gave back some, I'm still in the green, largely because of the FANG stocks and some of the other big name stocks that I own. Of course, we did make some money this week on INM, thanks to Arjun. Thank you, Arjun. I cashed in my chips, all of them, on INM over $2, making it a little bit of a killing inside of a week. But the biggest killing we had this year was Sava, which we caught at $8 a share and ran it all the way up to 123, then bought it back below 100 and sold it in the 140s. and then made more money when it came back down. I recently sold it at 95. I think it's time to nibble again, despite Patrick's objection about the CEO being implicated in a previous company of, let's say, ill repute. I think the previous company is not this company. So I have high hopes. The data is the data. It has nothing to do with the CEO. All right.
By the way, what does Sava do?
What does what do?
Sava do? SAVA?
Sava is an Alzheimer's drug play.
Okay.
Their CEO was recently involved in a lawsuit filed by anonymous parties saying that the data he presented at the big biotechnology conference was fudged, essentially. And the proof that they were presenting was very flimsy proof. It looked like future slides, looked like previous slides, and whatever it was. I don't know the exact science of it, but the CUNY researcher, City University researcher who works for Sava being New York based, was cleared of any wrongdoing by CUNY. And I think they're going to be cleared by the SEC when the investigation is finalized. So I think it's a play on that. It's actually a bargain price because of the investigations by both the SEC and the NIH. So they're under the gun right now, but I think it makes for a buying opportunity on Sava. What other interesting trending tickers are there? Apple is at an all-time high, 159.19, up another $1.32. Pfizer at an all-time high, 51.79, up 38 cents. Adobe is flying high. MU, Micron Technology, is flying high. But AMAT, I think, is going the other way. AMAT is down. Probably a buy on any serious weakness. The chip stocks, I think, are very good to buy on any dips. I've been buying NVIDIA on dips. Another one of my winners. But the main stocks that we talk about on this show are biotech, and I had some bad luck on two of my plays. Not bad luck. I lost last week on DNA and on Dermatech, DMTK. I didn't lose much because I put in tight stops on my swings, but I did have two losers there, but more than offset by INM. Let's take a look at a chart, some chart or another. How about INM to start off with? This one had news recently about a patent of sorts, I believe, to fight neurodegenerative disease. I think Parkinson's in particular. And market cap is very, very low, 24 million. It popped on an update by the business update by the company. So we all got out here. I got out not at the high of 237, but at 210. We got in right about here at $1.39. So we all did very well. Arjan, thank you very much for that one. Kudos to Arjan. And I have a bunch of stocks that I listed that I wanted to look at. But first, let's look at the request, ITP. This is a penny stock, and It's been in a big downslide since peaking on 11/4 at 60 cents. It looks like it was pumped up, probably by some PR, and gave back a bunch. It is NASDAQ listed. Um, right now, it still looks like it's in a downtrend. And I mean, judging from the chart alone, not knowing anything about it, I, I would I would not go into this one unless I knew something more about the fundamentals that I found compelling. But from the chart, it's in a downward channel now. And where she turns around, it could be this key support level here at 33 cents. So, I mean, a dip from 37 cents to 33 cents may not seem like much, but percentage-wise, it's a lot. So if I did want to go on, if I did want to own this, I would want to buy it maybe start buying it at 35 cents and swing right out of it on any dip below 33 cents. So I would play it very tight to the vest if I wanted to own this. And the other one was J A J A G. Do you remember what it is? JAGX, Jaguar Health. Yeah, all right, let's take a look at this one. This one is probably also a low market cap stock in the biotech sector. And it's similar to, it's in a downtrend for a long time. But this one is at least giving me some reason to say maybe it's bottoming here because we're forming what looks like a bullish arami at this point after a long downtrend. So just maybe it'll have some meaning. But notice back here on 10/7 after a long downtrend, we had an engulfing candle, bullish engulfing, went up the next 3 days and then collapsed again. So it might just be good for a little pop here, or it might be a signal that it's actually turning around. You want to look at a couple of days data before you can conclude anything for sure. But speculatively, you could take a shot here. I'd sooner take a shot here than the other one. So this one looks to me more interesting based on the chart. Let's take a break from charting and go take a look at Joe's website. This is the website. It's called zcubes.com. And it's a beautiful website, Joe, that you put together. Compliments on that. Really gorgeous.
Yep. So, Zcube's website itself is built using Zcube's technology. So it's kind of recursive in that sense. So fundamentally, Zcubes is a Web 3.0 omnifunctional, hyperproductive software, hyperproductivity software. That's the way we kind of define it in the holistic sense. On a daily basis, we use about, I would say, 20 plus applications. Zcubes reduces it to just a few. We get rid of all these complexities with, different types of software we use and their limitations, and we provide an omnifunctional space. And so one of the ways to understand this is, you can imagine each of the applications you use as a letter in an alphabet. So Zcubes unifies that and says, instead of just letters in the alphabet, you can form words out of it. And then Zcubes omnifies it, and which means that you take the words together to compose sentences. So you're able to create some very beautiful stuff using Zcubes. Pretty much it can replace any application you typically use, like, the word processors, the spreadsheets and presentations and stuff like that. And also you can use it to create websites and blogs and so forth. So even this our own website is built using the B3 technology. We call it Zen, Z for enterprises. So we use our own technology to create our own website. So it's a fairly, I would say it's a fundamental shift in how we look at software. Instead of buying different pieces of software from different companies and putting it together and manually operating it, Zcubes gives you a space where you can do all kinds of advanced computation and composition and presentation and all that stuff in one space. So it's a fundamentally fundamental software technology, and we
So
expect it to change
you
everything.
have a team of software developers that use your language?
Yes. So one of the interesting things about what we have done, I wouldn't say it's our language. I would say we have based all our work on open standards, so HTML, JavaScript, and so forth. So the language we came out with translates itself to JavaScript. So we get all the benefits of JavaScript. So any JavaScript programmer is already a Zcubes programmer. Likewise, we have all of the spreadsheet functionality in the software. So basically that means that any Excel user is a Zcubes user kind of thing. So to say that, it's our language is a little bit, it's not the way I would describe it, because we are sitting on top of all of the fundamental things, like it's like a super spreadsheet. Likewise, our language is a super JavaScript, just much more beautiful than what JavaScript by itself is. So because we are standard based, that's where we are able to move like that. Typically when people create software like this, like when Microsoft made their Office software, they made their own language, like called Visual Basic for applications. It was their own language, and it is not used outside of the Microsoft Office ecosystem. So when you have implemented something in Microsoft Office, you can't use it anywhere else. Like Python is a completely different interface, right? Its own syntax and all that stuff. So real problem that users face is that there's so many different languages. Everybody is different from everything else. So you do something in Excel, you cannot take it to Python, or you do something in Python, you cannot take it to C#. You have to re-implement it. That's a lot of a lot of time and money loss.
And can you
So
tell us a little bit about the artist community that's growing on Incredible Ingrid?
yeah, so Zcubes actually addresses documents, media, and logic. So what Dr. J was talking about was the logic side, the programming side and stuff. Media is the other big angle. We have omnified documents, media, and logic. So in media, for example, you take different applications we use, right? There is one application for managing your pictures, another application to manage your videos like TikTok and all those things. Then there's another application to create animations and so forth. So we created this concept called omnimedia, where you can bring all types of media together to create fascinating stuff. For example, you can make a collage of pictures or a animation, or you can draw on your pictures or videos and stuff like that. So we call it omnimedia. So one of the latest releases we are having is, we called it Ingrid Rainbow, and Ingrid Rainbow and Ingrid Prism. These are two versions of it. Ingrid Rainbow is actually to just manage pictures and videos and stuff like that. And Ingrid Prism has a social network associated with it. So that's the one that is actually coming out right now. So we have been releasing it into both App Store and Android. So a lot of people have taken
Ingrid Prism, artists will be able to share their work and talk about
yes.
it? Or?
Yes. So what happens is Ingrid Rainbow is the basic one, which deals with all of media. Ingrid Prism has the social networking aspect of it, so they can share and stuff like that within the Ingrid community. But anything you make in Ingrid Rainbow, you can post it to any of the photo sharing or video sharing apps and stuff that you have. But the interesting thing about the Ingrid Rainbow concept is that whatever media you make, like let's say you created a very fascinating pattern or something, that is editable. Unlike Adobe software, for example, you make something with Adobe software and you share it, nobody else can edit it. You have to have the original files to edit it. Whereas in Ingrid Rainbow, the picture itself is editable. So you can have infinite continuous creativity. And people have been creating all kinds of beautiful stuff with it, far beyond what we ever expected.
So I can take a famous painting and
Yes.
make it my own.
You can edit it and do all kinds of effects and blending and things like that. What you would do with a very professional media management software is what we can do with Ingrid Rainbow. But even kids, like little kids,
So I could take Mona Lisa. I think she could use a little
yes.
rouge. I can
Oh,
paint a
yeah.
little rouge on her cheeks and
Yeah.
liven her up a little bit.
Yeah, you can do pretty cool stuff with it.
Uh-huh.
But the idea is that, I mean, you might have heard of software like Canva and so forth, right? They basically, something that somebody else is creating, can modify to do something with it. Whereas in the way that we look at, Ingrid Rainbow and the whole omnimedia concept is that media is one concept. Now, you can't say that pictures are different from videos, are different from drawings and stuff. They are all the same concept. So anybody should be able to take and create and manipulate any image or any drawing, any animation, and then share it with other people who also can then continuously edit that.
Mhm.
So that we believe will, open up a lot of creativity on the media side. Likewise, we do the same thing with documents and logic. So it's a fundamental move against all these three spaces, into all these three spaces, whereas almost all the other software folks have created different applications to deal with different things. Like, Snapchat only deals with, let's say, videos or something, or videos and pictures, not animations and stuff like
And
that.
if one of our followers went to your site to play with it,
Yes.
do you think there's something here for everyone?
Yes, yeah. Anybody can download like ingridapp.com. So if you can go from zcubes.com to ingridapp.com. So ingridapp.com is where you can download the media applications. And the Zcubes web application is available there. But Zcubes is much deeper than what you see on the website, because many of the things that we are creating are being used by enterprises inside of the enterprises. So like, for example, the IoT devices or reporting solutions and stuff. One of the recent ones we are doing replaces like thousands of spreadsheets and micro databases inside an enterprise with Zcubes technology to create their entire data pipeline and reporting system. So much of what we do actually are, not on the website, because it's going to the back end of enterprises. So just to show that Zcubes is not just about the web pages or the media and so forth, it's got much deeper depth to the other side. And many of these, we create websites for companies. So and they
Do
maintain
you
it for
have
them.
any are you utilizing any AI in your approach?
Yes, actually, Zcubes already has AI algorithms inside of it. So in many of our reporting solutions and stuff, there was one recent one I can specifically talk about, like master data management. They are integrating multiple databases into one, and then they figure out that many of the terms in each, like the same company might be referred in a completely different way in a different database, and they have to detect which are the ones that are similar, and we use AI to figure it out, to say that, okay, this database, this particular customer they're talking about is the same as the other customer on the other database. You're dealing with like tens of thousands of customers, so you cannot do it manually. It's very
Right,
difficult to do this sort of thing, because you need
right.
natural language processing, and then different kind of measurements and things like that. So we trigger, ML algorithms, AI algorithms are already built into Zcubes, and that's why we call it omnifunctional. Unlike, let's say, Excel is very, very good at computing things, but clearly it doesn't have AI or ML or anything in that. So for that, you have to go to a different software, and we are trying to avoid having to go to a different software for everything. So when we say that we have ML algorithms inside of Zcubes, it also means that ML algorithms are inside our servers too, because Zcubes works everywhere. The same algorithms work everywhere. And we can also add things like TensorFlow and stuff into Zcubes if they want, specific natured AI algorithms and so forth.
Uh-huh.
So one of the cute things that have happened in our creation of this is that we don't just bring information together, we allow you to apply logic into it, which essentially, like just like what Excel did in the past. Excel basically took data and computation, and then they said you can also program it with VBA, and that's why Excel got so popular compared with
Yeah.
things like QuaterPro and stuff. So we did it for all of information,
Let me ask you
not
this:
just numbers.
if somebody is interested in investing in your company, how would they go about
Yes.
doing it?
Or contact me.
Just
we,
contact you through the
yes, we
website?
have. you can call, email me at joe@zcubes.com. So we are actually talking to a lot of investors now. So we are taking, parallel investments from, not the non-VC community too, before we go into the VC investment phase. So we are talking to many people on investment right now. That's one of the reasons I'm in the Bay Area. So if you're interested in investing, definitely, contact me at joe@zcubes.com, and we can, we would love a variety of people to take advantage of this opportunity. I feel this is a fundamental move in the software industry. It's, and we can see it, the kind of solutions that Zcubes is doing is just fascinating. Just contact me at joe@zcubes.com, and we'll give you the information and stuff like that.
It was a fabulous presentation. It's only a CEO could give a presentation like that, because it shows your enthusiasm for your belief in your own product.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much. Yep.
Now, I hope you can stay another couple of minutes. We're going to end in 12:15. We're going to wind it up. Yeah. I just wanted to show a few more charts. Moderna, look at this rounding pattern as it's coming back. It looks very much like it's bottom. It's like almost like a cup and handle type pattern. So it's showing life again after being really knocked down bad. So Moderna looks like a stock that wants to come back. I think you could shoot by the end of next year. I think it'll be trading above this low. So let me just draw that in. I'm being very conservative here. Moderna is a fabulous company. You're talking about, Joe was talking about the original mRNA companies looking for cures for cancer. Well, so Moderna is one of them, and they're still looking for that cure using mRNA technology. And they just might get there. They just might get there. So I'm not betting against this company. Brilliant scientists. They were the first to actually beat Pfizer to the they were tied with Pfizer for getting the vaccine first. And actually, this is a more efficacious vaccine for COVID between Pfizer and Moderna. I know a doctor in ER who told me that if you are vaccinated with Moderna, or have the booster, probably the only way you could catch COVID is to lick the floor of the emergency room or ICU, lick the floor of the hospital. So it's pretty successful vaccine, and based on that track record alone, I think that their other research may pan out as well. Plus, they're working on the combo flu and COVID shot, which I'm sure they'll be successful in. This is a great company. Looks like it's bottomed. Good time to nibble in my opinion. I think the 200 might hold right here. So cross the 200 finally, and let's see what happens. I think you're going to see the 300s again. 318 might be a little resistance right in here. It was support. What was support is now resistance. So the 318 level might be a little resistance, but I think ultimately we're going to get to, if not new highs, we'll get back up to the 450 area. The all-time high was around 500, I think. 497, yeah. So I think by the end of next year, 450 would be my target, and probably 6-month target would be this 318 area. So I like Moderna as one of my top bio picks for next year. It doesn't take a great genius to pick them, but I never said I was a great genius. Let's look at a couple of others. Roadblocks. talking about AI and talking about virtual reality and all of that. Roblox is doing a phenomenal job in the metaverse. You think of Roblox, you think of the metaverse, I guess. It's a term that I'm not quite sure what it means, metaverse, because it's being used by so many companies to mean so many different things. But to me, Roblox is a metaverse. And they formed a deal. They had a deal with Nike yesterday, where they're going to incorporate Nike World to allow users of Roblox to dress their characters in Nike clothing and Nike sneakers and so on. It should be very interesting going forward, all the alliances that Roblox forms. I think Roblox is for real. I don't think it's just a fad at this point. Uh, and it's for ages 9 and below are doing very big below 9, but also between 12 and 18. So I don't know why the gap from 9 to 12, but that's interesting. I think they'll fill that gap. Basically, it's for kids of all ages. That's how I see it. There's something in it for kids of all ages. And I don't know about you, Joe, but I feel like I'm just a kid still. I'm tempted to play a little
You're young.
Roblox.
Yes.
Does this tempt you in any way, or do you see it as having a future?
Right now, these companies that are on the meta side, like because Facebook is moving in that direction, they're all going to the VR AR kind of thing. It's going to be very interesting in the next, I would say, 5 years. At the same time, if people are kind of starting to dislike the metrics, everybody's in front of a computer. They are trying to appreciate real world more now because we've been locked up so much. So I'm not too much into the Facebook kind of world because I don't see what happens to them after 5 years. It may just become normalized. It's just like another utility or something. You don't even look at it. Yeah, we can connect with everybody on the planet. The unfortunate thing that I'm seeing with those companies are that there is a lot of political angle to them, which is getting a little bit disturbing for people to be on them. But all these avatars and things like that are going to be an interesting thing. But I kind of like the biotech side a lot more in that sense because there are some real things happening there. And because you're in the biotech side, I wanted to kind of recommend a particular podcast by Lex Fridman. He had interviewed somebody called Vincent Racinello. The spelling might be, the pronunciation might be a bit off. He's, I believe, a professor at Columbia or Cornell. I don't remember exactly which one it was. He has a set of YouTube videos on virology. He's an excellent speaker, and he was actually talking about mRNA vaccines, and this guy is a genius, and he knows viruses front to back and how all the details are and stuff like that. And one of the things he mentioned about mRNA vaccine was he was not expecting mRNA vaccines to work at a commercial scale, and he was surprised that BioNTech and Moderna made it actually to work because RNA gets damaged very quickly, and they kind of put a covering on it or something and made it work faster, made it actually practical. And another thing he was mentioning about was that the mRNA vaccines, when you inject in your body, it doesn't stay in your body for long. Unlike DNA vaccines and stuff, because it goes into the DNA and all that kind of stuff, it kind of becomes part of you, which makes it more risky in a way. I mean, he had all great things to talk about mRNA vaccines and stuff. So I was just trying to recommend Vincent Racinello as a source of authoritative information on virology and things like that. He gives excellent insight, and it's something that the more you understand it, the better you can invest into things. And CRISPR is the other big thing. How it's going to be. I feel that it's going to be the biggest technology for this entire century. I cannot see anything else. Crypto and all are like small things. I believe in front of it.
Well, from what Joe was saying, even though CRISPR stock is on the decline, on almost a straight line down, It's not going to be going to zero, that's for sure. At some point, it's going to make a nice move up, probably halfway between, let's pick a level. I'm not saying where it's going to make the bottom at this point because that's unclear, but the 140 mark I think is key. So I think halfway between wherever it bottoms and 140, you're going to get that regression. You're going to get that mean regression to the mean or reversion to the mean, whatever it's called. So I think you're going to see that. So if it bottoms at 80, I think you can expect 110 as a target. And this got a write-up in Barron's over the weekend. The write-up said that it's one of 4 stocks where the analyst targets differ the most from where it's trading at. So I think the average analyst target is something like 140. So it's nearly a double just if it hits the average analyst target. So this is an interesting play. Even though it does nothing but go down, it's very scary. So I think if you buy this, you buy very little of it, figuring you're probably too early, but maybe it's better to be too early than too late, or it's very easy to miss the run. So if you like CRISPR, if you like the fundamentals, I think it's okay to nibble, even though it appears to be a falling knife, but we know that's not true. Sometime down the road, someone's going to whisper, buy gene editing, and Kathy Wood just bought 10 million shares or whatever it is, and it'll start going up like crazy. That's what I think. Beam is another one, which is that I own. I own all 4 of them, and right now I'm not happy that I own them, but I think I'm not going to regret it in the end. So it's also an ugly-looking chart, but less ugly than CRISPR. It appears to have bottomed at least. So let's just draw that bottom in.
Yeah, the important thing about biotech stocks is that, in the short term, it might look like it's, something is not doing well, but they're all long-term possibilities. Plus the kind of, for example, CRISPR itself, the opportunities that you can, the kind of possibilities you can do with CRISPR technology is so huge that anytime these companies can pivot into something that becomes really big, like BioNTech, for example, they were trying to create a cancer kind of, trying to solve cancer problem, which was not going anywhere. Suddenly COVID came, and overnight they were like making into billions and billions and billions. So mRNA it's a huge potential just in itself, so
well, I mean, take diabetes. People that
yes,
are born with type 1 diabetes.
yes,
CRISPR is tackling that problem. They feel they can cure it, where
absolutely,
people
yeah,
can live a normal life with type 1
yeah,
diabetes.
yeah,
So there's tremendous applications already being worked on by these
yeah,
companies. And
yeah.
I think you got to own a little bit of all of them,
All
because
of that,
as
exactly.
Joe
Uh,
said, which ones emerge the winner is unclear.
yeah, as a sector, it'll definitely be a long-term, great possibility. And this immunotherapy is another big thing that is happening, obviously related to biotechnology. Great things are happening. It can even at some point solve cancer and things like that. It's already solved many cancers using immunotherapy. And even at
Well,
COVID last stage.
Keytruda is the best known immunotherapy. That's the Merck drug,
I see, I see.
Keytruda, and Opdivo is the other one.
Yes.
They work on checkpoint inhibitors.
Mhm. And
But
any of these drugs that end with AB antibody, that's they are the immunotherapy
the
kind of thing.
monoclonal antibodies is another.
Antibody, the
Yeah,
AB at the end indicates
yes,
that.
monoclonal antibodies. Well,
Yeah, because nature has figured out a lot of things through evolution over basically hundreds of millions of years.
Yes.
We are just using it again. I mean, even CRISPR came from something that was already being used by bacteria to defend against viruses. So we are only reusing what nature has figured out. But nature has figured out so much, and unlike any other field, the biotechnology field, I mean, immunotherapy and mRNA vaccines, mRNA technology, even CRISPR, they can. We don't even know where it can take us. So we obviously want to be exposed to it and not worry about the short term up and down.
I've been adding on a gamble that they're going to be cleared by SEC. So I added on the big drop down to 47. I added yesterday. I did not add yet today, but we're already up $7 on Sava. Maybe I'll add, maybe I won't, but I think ultimately it will come out okay, despite the past reputations of the CEO, as Patrick points out. Patrick is much more dubious, but I know you've made money on this one as well, right, Patrick? You caught it, went on its run to the 90s. So, regardless of past history, what counts is the future. I know you don't like to invest in a CEO that has a sketchy past, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the future is going to be bad for this company. It might be a big winner. And I think this one, along with Innovis, are worth owning for the AD space, Alzheimer's drug space. This one is going the other way, Innovis. But the CEO, woman CEO, Maria, whatever her name is, I don't remember. She recently invested quite a bit of money in her own company, buying shares. I like insider buys. Does that give you confidence, insider buys by the CEO, Joe?
I try to ignore it because it may be an attempt to manipulate people. Just against about the CEO, the Sava CEO that you're talking about. I tend to think that some people sue companies just to make money, and
Right.
and they'll try to make it look as bad as possible.
Right.
But if the CEO does not have integrity, it can cause a problem, like what Warren Buffett was saying. He's talking about integrity of people is the most important thing to go by. But there are checks and balances. These are public companies, so you can expect, just like diversifying in a portfolio, you expect some of them to have crooked people. But if you look at pure numbers and see the way I look at it is, you cannot drive by looking at the speedometer all the time, right? So you have to enjoy your drive and to have a higher purpose and things like that. So if you look for companies with higher purpose, technologies that have enormous potential, you diversify, assuming that some of these companies will have bad CEOs, like Theranos had, right? But if we looked at, for example, if you're evaluating Theranos, and we looked at its board of directors, which has got Henry Kissinger and Mattis and all these guys, and if that's the way we look at it, we are bound to get cheated at some point in time. And because the CEO was, they managed it poorly. It can happen with any company, even if it has a great CEO now, but people underneath that person might be crooked and stuff like that. And many of these are accounting failures, not necessarily technology failures. So you have to account for that in your investment approach, in my opinion.
Well,
so
one thing I can attest to, I know Joe Pally a long time, and Joe Pally is of the highest ethical and moral fiber.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I actually was at Enron when all those things happened.
Oh,
so I saw what happened.
Wow.
I saw what happened.
Wow.
And but the way I look back at all those days, my systems were used to track their hedges and assets and stuff like that. But at the end of there were some strange things going on, and I asked those questions about it. I didn't know too much about what is happening in the negative side, but when it all came out, I had seen them happen. What I realized is that people fall for the show. Like SEC. Much of the things that happen, the other Anders and all those guys, the accounting people and the consultants and all that, they had a self-satisfying circle, kind of. Everybody pays each other and everybody keeps quiet about what's happening. and they cook up some kind of strange idea and then make it work. So that's basically because the top level doesn't have ethics, and whatever they're doing is selling in the market, and we should not be that simpleton about it. When people are doing things, we had to question them. It's okay to question things. Even technologically, when Theranos was trying to do that, why did Walgreens kind of put so much money into it? I mean, you could have done the test yourself to figure out if that their stuff is working. People try to keep quiet about it because they're making money, and that's the unethical circle. So I always feel that people just should be asking simple questions. It doesn't have to be very complicated stuff. If it doesn't make sense to you, ask questions about it. Like if that's why I was suggesting Vincent Racanello, because he can learn so much about the technology and what goes on behind the scenes, so you can ask the right questions to companies or assess them right. And then some people are going to be unethical, and we can't stop it. That's just part of the game.
Right.
Like everything you buy is not going to be perfect, but if you look at the long-term possibilities, just look at how CRISPR is going to be. If you understand CRISPR, you'll be like totally excited about it. That's why I am so excited about it.
Right.
I'm not even a biotechnology. I understand biotechnology, from an interest point of view, and a lot of theory and stuff like that. But I'm not a practitioner in it. But I can see what can be done, and I just look at the possibility and invest as broadly as possible into these things.
Yes,
but be informed.
Kathy Wood has a fund where she has her innovation fund, where CRISPR, yes. CRSP, and BEAM are two of her largest holdings.
Absolutely.
So I'm kind of obsessed with Kathy Wood. She's, I think, very brilliant, and she's not the only one who has their money where their mouth is when it comes to these stocks. I like them. I'm upset that I'm losing money on paper, but I feel good that I won't be for long, as I continue to lose money adding.
Yeah.
But one day I think I will make a killing on them. Yeah. That's it for today. Thanks so much, Joe, for joining us.
Thank you.
Taking over for Professor Spike and Arjun. You did a hell of a job, and we enjoyed your presentation about zcubes.com. Adios, amigos. See you all next week. Arjun and Professor Spike will be back, and Joe, you can come anytime you like. You have an open invitation.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Yeah. Adios, amigos.